Welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy that you're here. I started doing book reviews. I have so far read 2 books that have been life-changing. I'm really excited to see where this book review series goes and where it takes me. I already have another book I'm ready to read as soon as I'm done filming this. Before we get started, we have to get the vibes right. I'm lighting my Palo Santo, my holy wood. I'm basically cleansing my space, removing any static energy that would be blocking my creativity today, promoting positivity, welcoming in all the good vibes, all the good energy, and basically setting the tone for today. I'm just so excited to just dive right in. Tell you guys a little bit about this masterpiece here. The Well-Guarded Mind, I bring to you by Sue Stuart Smith. This book is one of those books that I truly believe was divine intervention. I never even knew this book existed until one day my algorithm, suggested this book to me, and the title alone just captured me right away. As soon as I finished The Fifth Agreement, I started this book. It was a long book, 300 pages. I have basically been highlighting gem quotes that I've been coming across as I've been reading, which was literally every single time I would open this book. I mean, it never failed. Whenever I would read, I would be highlighting. It's even poetic in a sense, you know, and I think that's why I was so drawn to this particular book, this text. It was inspirational, it was powerful, it was moving, it was inspiring, it was very gripping, right? Like some of the stories I read in this book about the healing powers of nature were so just touching and truly had an impact on my life and just like how I feel about nature. I mean, I've always loved nature. I think we can all relate when we say that we're drawn to nature. Whatever it is that pulls us in, we can all say we can relate to. However, this book breaks it down on a scientific level as to why, right? The why behind nature being so beautiful and why we feel so good when we're in nature. Why we feel so good after taking a walk. Why we feel so good after spending a day in the sun, right? That vitamin D breaks down why it is what it is, why we love nature so much, how important it is that we stay connected to nature, especially in the world that we're living in right now. This book, if anything, reminded me of what I already knew about Mother Nature and how much of a bad bitch she is, right? I love Mother Nature. That's my girl. Listen, me and Mother Nature, we go way back, okay? That's one thing that I feel like we as humans forget. Like we were conditioned, we were put on this planet to have a one-on-one relationship with nature, hands-on. Our ancestors lived amongst the trees. I don't want to say too much. I'm going to go ahead and read the intro that's on the inside of the jacket here, but this is the book, guys. I love the smell of it. The pages of a book, man. Like this is why I don't get rid of books. All these textbooks here are from my undergrad years in college. I don't get rid of books. I'm a book collector. Okay, this is what some may not know about me. I love books. I have a degree in English. I have a background in writing, and reading is just something I've always loved doing. So when it can be recreational, it's even better. Well-Guarded Mind, we're gonna dive in a little bit. I don't wanna give too much away in case you decide you wanna read it for yourself, but I'm gonna read you guys the intro, and we're gonna go over some passages that I did highlight that I think would be sort of important to sort of throw in today's video so that you guys can get a really good idea of what to expect when you read this book. I want to have a little heart-to-heart with you guys and just sort of shed light on why reading is so important. It's exercise for the mind. It's exercise for the brain. We live in a society right now that thrives on easy fixes, quick clicks, right? Instant gratification that requires little to no effort on our brain's part, right? Well, reading is basically like your dedicated time to working your brain out, working your mind out, essentially. So just like we exercise our bodies, just like we pray and meditate and exercise our spirits, reading is exercise for the mind. Number two, you can pick and choose what you read. You become smarter, you become more knowledgeable. Okay, you're sharpening your mind, you're preventing Alzheimer's, you're preventing brain disease, right? Expanding your vocabulary, right? You're doing so many things for yourself when you read. And it's fun. I mean, depending on what you like to read, I like to read thrillers. I like to read autobiographies. I like to read self-help books. I like to read books that are going to empower me as a person. You need to start reading, okay? Come to my house. I got some books for you, okay? I have a wide range of selection. But no, seriously, guys. And that's another reason I chose to major in English literature in college, because I knew that I'd be reading, and reading is something I enjoy doing anyway. Well, I have mastered the art of reading, how to get through a book. In today's world, it's not so easy because of all the distraction we have, but when you can find a quiet time, some quiet space, some alone time, self-care time, to just pick up a good book and just get lost in it and forget about everything else for a second. I mean, it's self-explanatory, right? Like, I don't even need to sell you on why reading is so amazing for you and why you should do it. My book reviews are a way to hold myself accountable, to make sure that, so I can make sure that I'm doing my reading, right? And, you know, keeping the ball rolling. But okay, guys, we're going to go ahead and dive into the book really quick. So I don't want to give too much away, but I just want to give you guys just a little glimpse so that you can still take something away from just watching this video alone. If you decide you want to read the book, then more power to you. Okay. The garden has always been a place of peace and perseverance, of nurture and reward. Using contemporary neuroscience, psychoanalysis, and compelling real-life stories, the well-guarded mind investigates the remarkable effects of nature on our health and well-being. From the science of the brain's own gardener cells to the beauty of flowers and the grounding effects of working with nature's rhythms of growth, decay, and regeneration, Stuart Smith provides a new perspective on the power of gardening. Prisoners given the chance to grow plants are less likely to reoffend. At-risk young people who get their hands in the soil are more likely to stay in school. Elderly people who garden tend to live longer and have a better quality of life. Using case studies of people struggling with stress, depression, trauma, and addiction, as well as her own grandfather's return from World War I, Stuart Smith explores the many ways in which gardening can help transform people's lives. In this glorious book of science, insight, and anecdote, Stuart Smith shows that our understanding of nature and its restorative powers is just beginning to flower. And I agree. I think the more craziness we experience in the physical world, the more inspired we are to become closer with nature, right? Because nature is that bitch. I mean, Mother Nature, she's here to love on us. She's here to feed us, guide us, protect us, nourish us. All we have to do is be there to accept it. We just have to see it for what it is, appreciate it for what it is, right? So, of course, I'm not going to read all 50 of these. I'm just going to sort of randomly select, and whatever pops up, okay? From the chapter entitled Safe Green Space. Trauma is an intensely isolating experience. While other forms of relationship may feel too threatening at the start, nature can help alleviate this disconnected state. Let's read that again. Trauma is an intensely isolating experience. While other forms of relationship may feel too threatening at the start, nature can help alleviate this disconnected state. Trauma is an intensely isolating experience. So hands in the air if you've ever experienced any sort of trauma, emotional trauma, physical trauma, traumatic events, right? A loss. Trauma can basically force you to shut yourself out, right? This passage is basically saying, while other forms of relationship may feel too threatening at the start. So let's say you want to begin reestablishing, reconnecting with the world, right? With people. It may be too intense at first, but you can start by going outside, right? Nature can help alleviate this disconnected state. I witnessed this when, during a circuit of the grounds, Eddie paused by a eucalyptus tree. I never walk by without doing this, he said as he picked up a couple of crushed leaves, crushed them, and inhaled the aroma. Handing me some leaves and inviting me to do the same, he explained. It always gives me a mental buzz. I felt it too, for the smell of eucalyptus is uplifting. It struck me that this interaction with the tree had become a ritual for him and a kind of formalized greeting he enacted each time he walked by. For all intents and purposes, Eddie had befriended that tree. It was his point of connection, and it became clear how much, especially in the early months, it helped to steady him. So by establishing your connection with a tree, you can start to rebuild your sense of self that will then be beneficial when you want to start reaching out to other humans, right? Other people. The tree is never going to reject you. The tree is never going to abandon you or show you a cold shoulder, right? So it's a good transition space. Nature is that vessel, that bridge that's going to connect the two worlds. Come on, nature. Okay, this is from the chapter entitled The Last Season of Life. The last season of life. Since the beginning of culture, plants and flowers have influenced people's understanding of living and dying. They lend structure to our thinking in a way that helps ward off fear and despair. The return of spring each year can be endlessly relied on, and in not dying, when we die, we have a sense of goodness going forward. This is the garden's most enduring consolation. I agree. The life cycle of a plant, the life cycle of a tree, the life cycle of flowers of a garden, they die, but they always come back. It's a cycle. It's a beautiful cycle, and it's a natural cycle that we as humans have somehow been conditioned to be afraid of. Death should not be something to fear, and only in understanding and accepting that death is inevitable can we really start to enjoy life, right? Nature can remind us of that amazing, consoling cycle. Amen. All right, from a chapter called Garden Time. This is a good one, very on brand with what I've been trying to talk about recently. Burnout is what happens when there is not enough recovery time and the ability to regulate stress is lost. It increases the risk of depression and is linked to higher rates of a number of physical disorders, including heart disease and diabetes. Physical or mental collapse caused by overwork or stress was given the name burnout in 1974 by the psychologist Herbert Freudenberger. One of the most important centers for treating burnout and stress disorders through horticulture is in Sweden. There's a real facility that treats this with horticulture. If you don't know what horticulture is, it's garden therapy, essentially. Over the last 15 years or more, Professor Patrick Gran and his colleagues at the University of Agricultural Sciences in Alnarp have developed an intensive 12-week program of garden therapy. Hello, sign me up for some garden therapy, okay? They have published numerous studies demonstrating the benefit of what has become known as the Alnarp model. So there's a real study that's named after garden therapy called the Alnarp model. Proof that nature is medicine, okay? It's been proven time and time again, especially back in the day when pharmaceuticals and medicine wasn't such a big like business like it is now. It's disgusting. Garden therapy was used in hospitals, at mental health facilities. It was used, in the home, right? Our ancestors, all they had was garden therapy, okay? They're the inventors of garden therapy, you know what I mean? It's amazing. It's fascinating. It truly is. Garden is medicine, okay? This is an entire book full of gems, just like the ones I just read, okay? Let's get through a couple more, and then I'm going to give you guys my final thoughts. Garden Time. The chapter's called Garden Time. The garden gives you a purpose and a schedule. It regulates you, keeps you on your toes. This was not the case with other activities. If I'm doing a patchwork quilt, it can sit in a drawer for years. There is no momentum, right? Exactly. Like planting and gardening is one of those hobbies that will keep you disciplined. It teaches you discipline. A life skill that we so desperately need, right? To succeed in life. You have to have discipline if you want to achieve anything in life. And gardening will teach you that, because you're technically taking care of living and breathing things that run on a schedule, right? So you have to be on your toes and know when to water, when to change the soil, when to repot, when your plants need light, when they don't need light, when they need a different temperature. It's literally, you literally develop a relationship, and that relationship unlocks unlimited discipline within you, because you have no choice, right? You have no choice but to look after your plants and keep them alive, right? So it teaches you how to do that. And that is a life skill that you can apply to anything, to anyone. Gardening does this, okay? If you don't know, now you know, okay? So, chapter entitled View from the Hospital. Ooh, this is good. The majority of hospitals designed in the second part of the 20th century prioritized functionalism, infection control, and technology, resulting in a clinical idiom that makes many people feel unduly anxious. Most hospitals in the UK now exclude gifts of flowers as a precaution, against bacterial contamination, as do an increasing number of US hospitals. The buildings themselves typically lack daylight, greenery, and fresh air. Basic deprivations that are a cause of stress for patients and their families, as well as staff, The emotional needs of people admitted to the hospital have come to be neglected, and nature is often regarded as either an irrelevance or a threat. Woo! Nature is a threat to people who make money off of illness, right? Because nature will heal you, right? All you got to do is see a green tree through the window, you'll heal yourself. That's what we come to learn in this book. This book is exposing, right, the industry that is hospital, that is medicine, right? Healthcare. Unlike prisoners who have the right to spend time outdoors in the open air each day, hospital patients, even long stay ones, do not. And they're the ones that need it the most. This is in spite of the fact that fresh air and daylight are good for mental health, and according to recent research, are also forgotten antibiotics, because light and airy hospital rooms have been found to be associated with shorter stays and lower infection rates, right? So they don't make money if people heal and get out of the hospital. So they have removed the very thing that can heal people. Ain't that a bitch? There is light at the end of the tunnel. On the next page, I highlighted a passage that says, the British Medical Association, for example, issued a new set of guidelines, in 2011, calling for increased psychological awareness in hospital design, and recommending that all new hospitals should include a garden, Yes, let's put a garden in the hospitals. Let's give the patients hope, right? Let's give them a place of serenity, of calm, right? That'll ultimately boost the immune system. That ultimately helps fight disease. It's not rocket science. It really isn't. It really isn't. And it makes me mad that these hospitals really tried to do that. But anyways, let's read one more. Healing that needs to take place is not only about physical survival. We need to reassess what matters. Absolutely. I'm ending it right here. Adjust our priorities and go forward in a different way. I'm going to say it one more time for the people in the back. The healing, and this is from the chapter called View from the Hospital. It's going back to that whole philosophy, right? The healing that needs to take place is not only about physical survival. Message. We need to reassess what matters, adjust our priorities, and go forward in a different way. Abso-freaking-lutely. And I'm going to leave it at that, okay? If you've made it to this part of the video, shout out to you. I hope that this inspired you in one way, shape, or form. If you haven't guessed it now, The Well-Guarded Mind gets my ultimate stamp of approval. I loved reading this book so much. It was so poetic. So inspiring, riveting, just all of the above. It truly reminded me why nature, spending time in nature, consuming nature, learning nature, experiencing nature, relying on nature, why all of these things are so important to the overall quality of life. I truly hope this book I truly hope that this book touched you, and let me know down in the comments if you guys enjoyed it, if you guys are planning on getting the book. I will try to leave a link down below to the actual book that you can purchase online. However, I think I did order this on Amazon and it came within 2 days. It shipped pretty quickly. So with that being said, guys, get out there, start reading books. I hope you enjoyed today's book review. Stay tuned for more to come. Again, I can't do these too often because I have to actually read the book, right, before I do a book review, but I will be doing one as soon as I'm done with my next book, so you guys can stay tuned for that. I am Jheneen. I'm signing out. Get out there, read some books. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe if you have not already. Join the family, okay? I'm going to be trying to push out more and more content as I get inspired to do so. And I will catch you guys on the next one. Bye.